Good morning, guys. Welcome back to part 2 of a series that is hopefully us fixing a 2008 C6 Corvette that we bought from Copart very, very cheaply. If you haven't watched part 1 of this series, I highly recommend doing so. I'll put the link in the description, but here's the 10-second version of what we have going on here. I bought this 2008 C6 Corvette that you see behind me for just under $12,000 at Copart. It has some pretty significant rear suspension damage along with some minor body damage on the driver rear quarter panel. The goal for this car is to fix it with parts we already have in stock here at Leasey Parts, therefore making this a very cheap repair. But that is enough talking. We have our salvage inspection with the Maryland State Police 3 short days from now, and we have a ton of work to do. So we're not going to waste any time. We have to take this thing up to alignment right now. Smoked your ass. Smoked you. I guess because of the alignment, but otherwise the thing drives so good. So good. I was wondering where the trailer went this morning, and I guess this thing's getting the key coded here. This thing's been there too long. I can't wait to get rid of that. All right, we're all dropped off. With any luck, she'll be straight as an arrow this afternoon. All right, we are squared away. It aligned perfectly. It was absolutely shot before. That is the good news. Unfortunately, there is a little bit of bad news. We weren't able to luck out on that ABS light. I was hoping that it was one of those rear ride height sensors that got damaged that we had to replace. We were going to be able to clear the code and we would be a-okay. Unfortunately, not the case. It looks like the front left ABS sensor has failed, which is integrated into the actual wheel hub. So that means we have to go home and replace that. Fortunately, as you might imagine, we have one at the shop, so we're gonna head back and knock it out right now.
Old school, working on the ground, Carrington?
What the hell was that?
Cut. We got lucky for once. As we were getting ready to pull this hub off and replace that because that's where they fail, as you can see, this is the speed sensor. It is integrated into the hub there. I noticed that. Fortunately, for once, it looks like we get to take the easy route and we just get to replace this extension wire. So here is our old one that is completely severed, like completely severed. And fortunately, we had a new one to snag right off that other C6 engine that just came out of another 08. So it looks like this is going to be a quick, easy fix for once in my life. It is a absolutely disgusting Saturday morning if you can't tell, but we're going to make the best of it and get cracking on this car.
You ain't gonna like this.
What?
Get off the paint.
Did it? You're you have a camera on me, so I know you're fucking. Fernando thinks he has jokes here. Comes in telling me those stupid badges screwed the paint all up. In reality, I honestly can't really tell where it was. Now we don't have to spend $9 on replacement badges, and we get those cheesy things off the fender.
Just return those things.
I didn't buy them yet.
Oh, okay, cool. You want to do the rebuild, the secret product over
Yeah,
here?
what's the secret sauce?
This is magic.
It's going to take that adhesive right
Interior
off.
Stuff. You just got to know how to use it.
Yeah.
What guys bought? Other than that?
You can use that as race gas too, I believe.
Really?
Yeah.
No way.
Somebody's going to be in the comments going, you told me you could use Arnex as race gas. That blew my shit up. Legal disclaimer. Don't do that.
Looks pretty good.
That does. I mean, I think we're off to a pretty good start here. That looks good. I'm happy those things are gone. One less thing we have to buy, one less thing we have to do, and we don't have to paint anything. It's big win. It wouldn't be working on the car if it didn't have something wrong with it. Of course, this battery terminal 10mm is stripped. No sweat at all for this guy right here, though. We'll go ahead and replace this with something that doesn't look like that and be on our way. after running all over the island looking for a battery, we finally managed to find one. Fresh wash, and then it rains all over you. Look at
Now
that.
I'll have to dry it again.
Oh, man. My man had one screw holding this thing down. Also, for this project, we're obviously not going to throw a $500–600 OEM spoiler on this, but stuff like this is a perfect example of why you should kind of really avoid these cheap aftermarket spoilers. You can see that once you put one of these on the car, you're pretty much committed to having it, unless you want to repaint the bumper. But we're knocking this thing out pretty quick. It looks really, really good. Much better than what I expected when I first saw this car. And now it's time to go ahead and get on this fender. Shout out Jeff's Body Shop. They did great on this thing. Real reasonable. They turned it around really fast. It's ready to go on the car. So that is next up on the to-do list here. Chose the hardest way possible to do this. But if we get away with changing this fender, not having to pull the bumper, be happy.
Oh, there you go. Victory.
Just how the pros do it, I assure you. Happy to see no damage back here whatsoever. Not that we really expected anything back here, because it was just a small crack in the corner, but still good nonetheless. So one thing, guys, and be honest, did you just learn today that Corvette rear quarter panels unbolt into replaceable panels? I remember when I first learned that. My buddy Cody had a Vet back in my super days. It said something along the lines of, yeah, if I smack it into a wall, I can just put a new quarter on it. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm used to quarters having to be cut out by a body shop, welded on. I think that was what started my love for Corvettes. You knowing I could be reckless and just bolt every single body panel back onto the car. It's not so bad, is it?
Nope. Piece of cake.
There is a lot of adjustment in these panels. If you loosen all this stuff up, you can slide it like a 1/4 inch back, a 1/4 inch forward, up, down, whatever. So, though I'm sure this isn't the right tool because you're not using metal like feeler gauges on body panels, it'll work for our purposes. That way we can match the gap from the door to the quarter on both sides. It looks right. They're OEM fenders. The car hasn't been damaged in that way, so there's no reason they shouldn't line up exactly. All right, ease up a little, just a tad. Right there. Perfect. Hold right there. Flawless. Exactly what we wanted. All right, so we just need to go in just a tad. All right, let's see how we got it. All right, so we are lined up perfectly. Absolutely perfectly. We're gonna go ahead and finish putting this thing on, and we'll be good to go for this. The quarter panel came out fantastic. After Fernando took care of the rest of the car, it honestly matches really well. Obviously, this is 8-year-old paint. There's plenty of swirl marks and whatnot in here. Yes, I could use a buff. We're not going that far. But outside, it looks phenomenal. I made it look as OEM as possible. I even put the chiclet back on. Took everything in me not to rip that one off and just ripped the other one off, but we went ahead and stuck it back on. One more positive thing we're about to check off the list. Our spoiler just showed up. However, now that this ABS light's out, now that we could give the car a proper road test, there's some howling coming from the rear end. I don't know if it's the tires, the hubs, what, but there's something back there and we need to address it because it does not sound great. Our only option is to get in there and start messing around with it and see what we have. But first, I'm gonna go ahead and stick this spoiler on so we can at least check that off our list and be done with that, done with the body, done with everything except this rear end. We have our lip popped open and fortunately, it's pretty nice. I mean, it's a $100 lip, so temper expectations, but for what it is, I'm thoroughly happy. And just like that, we are finished up, and this thing makes the car look 10 times better. Now, there are some flaws to a non-OEM wing. Namely, even though this wasn't broken on this one, it doesn't fit great. This little thin piece down here just doesn't hold up well on a non-factory wing. But as always, you get what you pay for. I only wanted to pay $100, so here we are. Regardless, 10 times out of 10, I'm taking this over this. And I'll take a slightly ill-fitting spoiler over a broken spoiler. So with that said, now this thing can go right here. And now we can start addressing the final issue with this car, because after that, we're done. The next thing I'm gonna do before I dive any further into it is go ahead and put different wheels on the back. I wanna make sure that it's not those tires. So I'm gonna go see if we have something laying around we can put on it, and if we don't, I'll probably just take the front wheels off my ZR1 in the parking lot and see if they work. We got ourselves a bald-ish set of Michelins on there, a set of Pilot Sports, nice tires. We can't use them ultimately if this fixes the issue because, again, they're bald. But they were on some matching wheels. We don't even have to look bad when we go take it for a test drive. All right, fingers crossed. I can't say I have high hopes, but it sure would be nice. Nope. Nope. That didn't take long. Back to the drawing board. I think the next thing we're gonna do here is the driver wheel bearing, because that's the next easiest place to look. If it's not that, it's nothing good. Out with the old and in with the new. All right, we're square. Hopefully we're nice and quiet. What do you think, Dalt? What do we got going on here? We fixed it. Is it done, or we're gonna be hunting more issues?
We're Gucci.
All right, this has been a ridiculously busy day, a stressful day. Hopefully this ends it on a good note. Set myself up for failure saying that, I know it.
Fingers crossed. I got the fingers crossed. I don't want to say anything yet.
Don't.
That's way better.
I think you want.
I was gonna say I didn't want to say it till we were at least doing like 30. That's way better.
We might have done it.
Yeah, that actually like sounds normal.
Sounds like a normal vet. I think we just finished this car. I don't want to sound like a used car salesman here, but you know, ice cold AC, the rear end's not making any noise. We got a finished product here. I think we got a good one. Kicks it in a second, but you know, in celebration of having a nice car, finished car, had to light them up just a little bit.
Celebratory burnout.
Yeah. All right, guys, now that the car is aesthetically and mechanically finished, we move on to our final hurdle of this series, and that is the Maryland State Police salvage inspection. For those of you who aren't familiar, that is where the state police analyze the parts you use, see where they came from, and make sure nothing is stolen. Now, typically, if one of you guys were doing this, you would need a receipt from somebody like us or another dismantler with the VIN number. That way you can show proof that you didn't go steal these parts off somebody else's car. Fortunately for me, they all came from cars we already had, so it's very easy for us. We don't need any receipts. We just have to show proof of purchase from the parts cars we use to fix this thing. With that said, assuming everything goes well this morning, this project will be 100% in the books by this afternoon. Fernando, you ready to get this thing on the trailer?
Go.
Let's do it. All right, let's see how close I got.
Oh.
Oh, did I nail it?
Almost. Almost.
Close.
Should be good.
We're gonna strap this guy down. I'll see you guys over at salvage inspection. We were unloaded off the trailer, inspected and loaded back up in 13 minutes. 13 minutes. If any of you guys have done a salvage inspection before, you know some inspectors or states can be awful. They can nitpick you. Us being a salvage yard, we get calls all the time saying that inspectors giving somebody trouble and they need XXX, they need a receipt written a certain way. We're always happy to oblige. That wasn't the case here at Beltsville. They were very quick, very efficient. Now we can get on with our day. We have about a 45-minute ride back to the shop, so I'll see you guys there. Alright guys, as you might imagine, I couldn't be more pleased with how this car turned out. Fortunately, the biggest hurdle we faced was a little bit of annoyance just sorting out that rear end noise. Otherwise, we got a lot of car for not a lot of money. We all know the prices on cars today are absolutely insane, especially on sports cars. The lowest priced LS3 automatic Corvette I could find, regardless of mileage, was $22,000. That car also had 145,000 miles on it, so obviously, that's apples to oranges. I ran a search for 0809 LS3 auto cars with roughly 80,000 miles on them to get a more direct idea of what this car is actually worth. The absolute lowest price one I could find anywhere in the country when I did that was $25,900. Unfortunately, that still wasn't an apples to apples comparison because that was the 3LT, not the 4LT with the leather wrapped interior. As I may have already mentioned, the 4LT leather wrapped interior is incredibly rare in a base car. So rare, in fact, that I could only find 3 for sale in the entire country. All 3 of those were significantly lower mileage than this, so I don't think we're going to be able to find a direct apples to apples comparison on this particular car, but for reference, every one of those cars was over $30,000. Now, do I think that's a good value on a base car? No, I don't. I'd buy a Z06 or Grand Sport at that price. But I did want to put that information in there just for reference. So when it comes down to it, my best guess as to what this car will be selling for, if it were sitting on a dealership lot with a clean title, is roughly 28 grand. Now, maybe I'm off on that, maybe I'm not. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. So that brings us to what really matters, and that's what do we have in it. All in from Copart with fees included, we paid $12,813. As for what we had to spend to fix it, that's the wing, the battery, the paint, the tire mounting, the alignment, all that stuff. We spent $767. Now, it's a little hard to estimate the cost of what we took from our inventory to repair this car because what it would cost us and what it would cost retail are 2 very different numbers. However, for reference, if someone was to walk into our shop and purchase all these parts, they'd probably be looking at about $1,000. So all things considered, that leaves us with a total investment of $13,580. As for what we could get out of it if we chose to sell it, I really don't know, but I have a hard time believing that a car like this with such minor damage and a full video documentary of it being repaired would pull any less than $20,000. That's a significant amount less than you could buy one of these for if it were clean title, and if we're being honest, that's a ton of car for $20,000. But with that said, that's a wrap for this video. If you enjoyed seeing us actually fix something for once and not shredding it to pieces, let me know. This was a nice challenge. It was a nice break from shredding cars apart constantly, so I personally had a lot of fun doing this. I definitely hope you guys enjoyed coming along for the ride. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff so you don't miss any of the other fun stuff we have going on this summer. As always, I will see you guys next time. Now, if I want to, I could just go put it on the ZR1 because technically,
There you go.
technically it's right. So
Or Porsche.
they're gonna be mad about that one.
Could you imagine you
There-
just put like a junkyard
That's-
LS block of that thing? Oh my. Don't buy rep.
Whoops. You know, this is one of the downfalls of being downright jacked. You got these massive guns. You know, you can't get in here. Hold on, it got something in my eye. Funny that passenger one might not even have been bad. Like,
No, the
no, that is.
passenger-
I'm like all
one.
screwed up. I don't
Yeah.
even remember which one was which at this point. Like, all right, we're gonna strap this puppy down. I'll see you guys at salvage auction. Not auction. This isn't an auction. Inspection. Just trying to fucking deal with these lights, man. And here's our good one. Yep.
Nobody make any noise for 30 seconds. It's a payback for the one that you took when I was taking the car out.
Slap this thing out of your hand.